Economic research shows small and new businesses create most new jobs. In 2022, the Indiana Community Action Poverty Institute found low-wage jobs dominate in rural areas. Although not a universal solution, entrepreneurship can lead to more jobs, lower income inequality, and build wealthier communities. What policies or programs can we implement or support to help Hoosiers who want to start a business?
Well, I didn't know I was one of them, an entrepreneur, until I decided not to go to Wall Street many years ago, because finance was my cup of tea. I was then had to make a decision, well, what do you do if you want to start your own business? Well, my wife kind of made that for me. She wanted her own store, originally a clothing store, until one of her friends started about the 7th or 8th one in a town of 8,000. We come from a big Catholic community. Remember, we almost needed a U-Haul to haul home our wedding presents. So she opened up a home accessory and gift store. It's been her only job, is that store, 505 Main Street, half block south of the courthouse. So we lived that. We know what it can do. It's a blue collar job mostly, because it's your main source of income. Most often you don't scale it into a larger enterprise, but it's the heartbeat of the country. It's what we were founded upon. And I remember when I worked for our local kitchen cabinet company for 3 years, but was still so anxious. The guy wanted me to hang around and maybe run it someday. I went to the first place. It was a wobbly enterprise. It sold mostly to farmers, and it was survival mode for 3 to 4 years. That was 6 months before the farm crisis. I learned more there than I did getting a fancy MBA. Small business and finding a way to help them, entrepreneurs, fertilizes a broad field. It does it across the state, and it would beg the question, do we need to spend more time there versus on trying to, hook the whales that everyone's looking at? And that would be kind of a part of what we've done recently. I think you need to do some of that. But I come from Main Street. That's where I built my enterprise. It grew to a regional and then national company. Blessed 3 of our 4 kids run it now. That's the American dream. So I'll know what to do there to help Main Street, small businesses, entrepreneurs.
Well, again, I think the first thing that we have to do is shift our state government's focus away from providing incentives and tax breaks to large corporations from outside of Indiana, and start focusing more on the individual, because an entrepreneur is an individual. A small business owner is an individual. Someone who purchases a franchise and starts a franchise is an individual. What we're doing today is we're bringing in a large quantity of these corporate jobs, and we're actually encouraging the workforce to leave our small business owners and go to these large corporate jobs. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce, I believe in August of 23, issued a report saying that for every 100 available jobs in the state of Indiana, we're about 23 workers short. And what we have to do is we've got to refocus on the small business owner. I believe, and I don't remember where the statistic came from, I apologize, but over the past decade, we've actually had a net loss in small businesses and franchisees. And so we really need to refocus on the individual and stop courting, if you will, the big corporate entities, and focus on how do we encourage entrepreneurship. And one of the things I think we have to do in order to do that is we have to take a really good, hard look at professional licensing in the state of Indiana, in a lot of the regulations around creating certain types of small businesses, and make it easier for people. You know, a lot of times we talk about government trying to create an incentive, and I don't think we need to incentivize as much as we do get out of the way.
So the fastest growing jobs in Indiana require less than a high school diploma. And that is not sustainable for a state that wants a strong economy, and we want to keep our most talented workforce here. We want to have folks start families in our state and stay here as retirees. So that's not sustainable. So making sure that we're taking care of small business, which is our engine, and I would also say there are a lot of great grant programs that are working. Those that are working, maintain those and build upon those. Those that are not, or that are not in existence, that's where we need to bring those small businesses to the table to make sure we're asking them, what are your needs? What are the resources you need? What are those mentorship programs? What are the startup grants that you need? What are those tax incentives that we could do? And we have some of that in place, but not to the degree I feel like it is that we need. So when I left the state superintendent, I started my own business. And I tell you, you know, no one really gives you this is how you do it. And so I sought out a lot of opinions and a lot of help, but we got to make it easier than that for folks who want to start a small business and be successful, and not just the startup, but maintaining it. I was thrilled to hear the Harris Walls team come out and say that they were going to offer huge tax incentives to people who are wanting to start small businesses. And I think that's a good thing, but as a state, we can do the same and also be good partners with a lot of people who I think really are ready to move the needle, not just for all small business, but also an emphasis on women and minorities with small businesses.